In today's job climate, a lot of people are being offered early retirement buyouts. So in today's video, we are going to tell you the true story of one individual who was very excited to get his early retirement buyout, but with one very poor decision, very costly decision, ended up losing almost half of that buyout. So in today's video, we will tell you what that costly mistake was and what he should have done instead.
So Amber, just last week, I was in the office meeting with some clients, doing some Zoom calls, some phone calls. A gentleman walked in. Let's call him Paul. Paul walks into the office. I've never met Paul before. He does not have an appointment. He has to wait for me to finish with some clients. Paul and I sit down and he proceeds to tell me about his early retirement buyout. Now, Amber, most people get pretty excited when they're offered an early retirement buyout, right?
Right.
This gentleman had worked for a Fortune 500 company for many years. During COVID in 2020, they offered him an early retirement buyout. He was 61 years old.
So you say early retirement. Give us some examples of what this package included. What did it look like?
So Paul was offered a lump sum pension, the balance of his 401k, and a substantial amount to pay for health insurance premiums until he reached age 65 and can go on Medicare. Total value of this package was nearly $300,000.
Okay, so he was, like I said, very excited initially about this. So what went wrong?
Well, he's working with HR. He says, great, I'm excited, send me the money. People in HR say, are you sure you want to do that? We don't think that's the best possible outcome. You should contact your tax professional. His tax preparer. That was kind of the first little error, right? Calls the tax preparer and says, hey, I'm receiving this early retirement buyout. What am I supposed to do? You know what she said?
What?
She said, why are you calling me? I don't know. I just prepare your taxes. So after talking to his tax preparer who says, no problem, just take it, Paul accepts the full lump sum buyout in 1 year and loses nearly 50% to taxes.
So the fatal mistake was accepting it all in cash in 1 year without consulting with a retirement professional, a financial professional. But why was this so costly? Why did it end up costing him almost half of that buyout?
Well, Amber, anytime someone receives it in a lump sum, the IRS requires the company, the custodian, to withhold at least 20% to cover federal income taxes. So that's what they did. They took 20% right off the top and sent it into the IRS. But this is mistake number 2, unfortunately for Paul. After Paul received the lump sum, he went to file his tax returns in the spring of 2021. His tax preparer, for some unknown reason, advised that he and his wife should file married filing separately, 2 different tax returns instead of filing married jointly.
Big mistake?
Big mistake, because doing so caused his federal income tax rate on that lump sum buyout, when combined with his other income from the year, right? He worked for the company during the year. He was in the 35% federal income tax bracket and 9.85% state. So he lost 45% to taxes. But had he filed jointly with his wife, who only made about $40,000, they would have been in the 24% tax bracket, 7.85% state. In this case, actual savings would have been over $10,000.
So not only did he lose a huge amount in federal income tax, but then he got some bad advice from his tax preparer and lost an additional $10,000 to $12,000 that he didn't need to have lost.
That's right. He didn't have to pay. It was definitely a voluntary tax at that point.
Okay, so let's look back at this story, go through step by step, and talk about what Paul should have done.
What Paul should have done is, first of all, consulted an investment advisor like New Generation Wealth Management, other investment advisors, perhaps a CFP, Certified Financial Planner, someone who Paul could have sat down with, and even if he had to pay an hourly fee to get advice, that advisor would have told him to not take the lump sum, but rather roll it into an IRA. That's what the third-party custodian, Amber, was trying to tell him when he said, send me the check. And they said, whoa, you should consult with your tax advisor. We think that's the wrong choice. The correct choice is to roll it into an IRA.
So it's important to understand here that not all tax advisors are actually qualified to give this type of investment advice. So how does someone know who to turn to?
Well, look for a fee-based advisor, a fiduciary. That would be an investment advisor or a CFP usually. But Amber, it's important to note here that the reason this was such a costly mistake is rather than paying tax all in 1 year, when an individual rolls it into an IRA, now they can control, right? He was 61. He could have taken out $10,000 a year for 30 years or $30,000 a year for 10 years. Whatever amount they needed for retirement, they could have controlled the flow and therefore controlled the taxation of those accounts over a much greater period of time, 20, 30 years even.
So this advice needed to be sought before he took the money. By the time he showed up on our doorstep, there was very little that we could have done.
It was too late. So folks, listen, the number one rule, if you have a lump sum, whether it be a 401k, lump sum pension, other early retirement, you should almost always roll that into an IRA, even if it's only temporary, right? What if someone parks it there? He could have rolled it into an IRA, taken out half in 2020 and half in 2021, and at least spread the tax over 2 years if you want it, right? You don't have to leave it there, but you'll have all your options available once it makes it to an IRA.
Moral of this story, please seek out competent advice before you do anything with that big lump sum payment.
If you might be receiving a lump sum pension or you're changing jobs and have a 401k to roll over, go to workwithnewgen.com. Go to that website, schedule a 15-minute introductory phone call. See if we can help you with what you need to get done.
Because you can make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Plan now to retire happy.